things about this unusual planet called Saturn. But why is this planet so unusual and such an integral part of our everyday lives? Let's delve into some scientific notions of the planet Saturn. Saturn is said to be the sixth planet from the sun's orbit, and it's said to be the second largest in size of all the planets in our Milky Way galaxy. Now you may ask, why then is Saturn coined such an unusual planet but so significant in our everyday lives? You may turn to scientific studies and see that science is often portrayed as the planet with the most rings surrounding it, made of gas of hydrogen and helium. But we will not focus too much on such scientific notions, as we know that science itself can always be questioned and rediscovered to see it from a different perspective. Instead, we will now focus on the astrological components of Saturn and the cosmos as it relates to our everyday lives. Now, in ancient astrology, Greek astrology, Saturn was coined as the Lord of Time, Chronos, and agriculture. Now, in astrology, astrology was pretty much written in ancient times to pretty much connect us to the greater cosmos and why we chose to be reincarnated in this life. Now you may begin to ask yourself, when we look at the scientific notions out there, as I previously noted, Saturn is said to have about 17 gaseous rings composed of helium and hydrogen. And it's said that no humans can survive on this planet because of its gaseous components. But the proof is always in the pudding when it comes to science. As I said, scientific notions can always be rediscovered. So, we now have to see that our astrology connects us deeply with understanding our universe and why we have reincarnated in this lifetime. Now, if we reflect on Saturn being the Lord of Time, we can trace back and see, wow, time was something that was set up to place us in a limited dimension, as we see that the universe is an infinite expression, full of expansion and always unfolding, that will go on through infinity. But we here had to come back in and to be in a certain way of living, just to keep check on ourselves. The Lord of Time, Chronos, of course, was created by the beings who reside in Saturn. And another great component of Saturn is being the Lord of Agriculture. Now we see that we greatly rely on our agricultural production for food to continue to live and build up ourselves and thrive with dynamic energy in our universe. So here we see the unusualness of Saturn. We could start just with, it being this great planet, that when it's often presented to us, I just remember in school studying, the planets, within our Milky Way galaxy. And Saturn was the only one depicted as having rings. But as we delve deeper, we will in fact discover that there are in fact other planets with rings. But Saturn was the one orchestrated as the one with the only ring, but it is in fact now seen that it's just because it has the most ring, and it's probably just the second largest planet. So it's often orchestrated as that. But we now have to see that Saturn resides in all our everyday structures. And as we look through our astrological aspects, in modern day astrology, Saturn now has the governance and rulership over Capricorn, which we all know Capricorn represents all basic structures of our world, governmental, political, or judicial system, to oversee everything that transcribes in this world. And ancient astrology, Aquarius, was the governing sign of Saturn. Now, as we begin to shift through this Aquarian age, we're seeing a great shift where Saturn, being this great lord of time and limitations, is now putting the pressure on us all to remain in this way of living. But we see that we're so much of an ever-expanding universe. And as the Aquarian nature presides over our entire universe, we see how we are being led into a different era of this great notion of time. Now, as we delve deeper into this astrological significance of why Saturn is so important to us, we now have to look, we were all born with a birth chart that pretty much depicts our entire lives, pretty much shows us the essence of why we came here to live out our soul's purpose and destiny. We see that Saturn, in all of these written texts, whether it's mythological texts, or just someone writing these character stories of how we are expected to live, Saturn was often considered the lord of karma. And according to the simple definitions of karma, karma is simply the actions that we take, whether good or bad. That is what will be returned to us. That what we sow we will reap. But because we have lived in such a low vibrational world, 3D dimensional world, who tend to focus on lower aspects of ourselves, it was often orchestrated that karma is just the negativity, the negative actions. But in fact, we need to bring back and merge, the positive actions that goes on, that which we do, that which we will reap. It's like looking at it from a religious perspective. If you look at Christianity, that which, sin that you do, you will be punished for it. So it's almost something like that. But we won't delve too much into religious perspective. It's just to show you, how karma have been portrayed. So we know Saturn, and according to astrology, Capricorns represent almost like being a parent, the father, of our earthly dimension. And when we look at Kronos, it's almost like Saturn is presiding over us, like this great father. Now, we could also look at it from a different perspective. We have seen now that we, as being human beings, are in full balance of our divine harmony, where we are eternally masculine and feminine on the inside. But because we have lived in a world that have portrayed masculinity as the dominance feature of ourselves that has to preside over us, and as we see the Capricorn structure being the essence of the father, we see where the femininity has been diminished. But the time that we are shifting now into the Aquarian age is certainly bringing back and merging these two features of ourselves, where one is not dominant over the other. Now, the reasoning for even focusing on that is to show you that we do not need a presiding feature. The essence of the portrayal of Capricorn, now looking at it from a broader perspective, at it, when you're growing up. The depiction of your father might be like, oh, this person who actually is the sole provider, the overseer. Most times, maybe this person in your family. So we now have to tell ourselves, why is it that we have been living in this limited world? Why is Saturn being the presiding feature of just time and agriculture? We're also seeing now what's going on with our food industry, and the notion out there that there is a shortage of food, when in fact we know that that's far, far, far from the truth. The presentation of always having to be on a scheduled time when we live in an unlimited multi-universe. So we see now that through the process of our evolution, we are in fact going through this great shift where we are presented, whereas the depiction of the astrological transit shows that Saturn being the Lord of Karma, great tests and lessons, that we are going through a karmic review. Now, the basis of even discussing this issues of karma, as we tend to say, it's the focus on the negativity, but we have to now merge it with the positivity. The essence of even talking about this karma is bringing us back to past life issues, past life karma. And as we are fully awakening and we begin to see a broader scope of our past life, the focus tends to be on only the negative aspects, even in the past life and the previous version in our present day life, before we fully awaken. But no, we now have to see that it's so much more greater than that. Have you, as a person who have awakened, seen that before your awakening, you lived in such a limited state, maybe just feeling like, okay, you go to a job, you grow up, you just do the everyday status quo thing. You work, you go home, you have a family, you retire after a certain age, and that's it. But now you're seeing you're so multidimensional. You were born with innate gifts. You were in fact the co-creator of your own life. So instead of just seeing this whole karmic review as maybe if you did something wrong in a past life or previously before your awakening, or just today or yesterday, whatever time it is, you tell yourself that it's not just about this, the negative. You always have a chance to unfold and reinvent yourself. So as we look at the significance of Saturn, we see that we were given this almost like a daddy feature in our lives, which we didn't ask for. But now we have to take back control and power of our entire life. Now we don't have to live in that limited dimension of time and only focusing on this karmic review of the bad happening. We see that so much potential and expansion has grown as we continue to evolve. So the purpose of truly shedding light on, why Saturn is somewhat so unusual, to us. We see that we now have to tap into seeing the significance of, this great astrological written charts of our lives, to take a review over it, to tell ourselves like, wow, this is now a chance to let go of this limited dimension as we are now unfolding into our fullest selves, and to now see Saturn as not as something, bad and karmic. So much bliss, so much peace I mean to each and every one of you as you learn to fully understand the multi-universe and to see the many facets of it. That is now time to let go of this limited dimension and welcome in the full evolution of your greatest expansion.